Alba, a wildlife adventure, is a game about nature and wildlife, which makes a lot of sense as we see this bird fly down onto a beach. But that doesn't really explain what Alba is. Oh, wait, there we go. It must be this little girl that we're going to be playing as throughout the entire game here. We start out as a little baby holding a clipboard, walking around the beach with our grandma. Seems like we had a pretty fun day out here. We turn around and we also meet our granddad, this sharp-dressed guy in a blue polo who loves birds and nature and taking pictures of things. But granddad seems to have had enough of taking pictures for this day, so he decides to hand the phone over to his 3-year-old to go ahead and snap the picture of him and the wife. I actually spent a lot of time lining that picture up to make it look pretty nice, but the photo that comes out doesn't really look anything like the picture I took. The photo that comes out actually features prominently the Iberian lynx, the king of the forest as Grandpa calls it, a very rare find here in the nature reserve. That actually wraps up the prologue of the game, where we are in the achievement Prologue Complete. We then jump a whole 10 years into the future, where Alba is returning to the island community where her grandparents live. And wouldn't you know it, the town festival is actually coming up on this Saturday, so I guess we've got something to build towards. This game is kind of interesting. You're playing as a silent protagonist, but sometimes characters will ask you questions, and you need to nod your head or shake your head no. It took me a pretty embarrassing amount of time to realize the way to lock in your answer is just to stop moving the stick. I was trying all different sorts of button combinations to no success. We talk to a nearby boatman who agrees to take us out to a nearby island for our dinner, and we get a pretty cool scene of us riding out to the island on the little boat. Our grandparents advise us to go look around the island for a little bit while we wait for the food to be ready, and our grandpa has a gift for us. He gives us a wildlife survival guide, which lists all of the animals on the island and surrounding area. Granddad also makes sure to note that the lynx that we saw previously has since probably gone extinct. They were rare 10 years ago, and now the odds of us seeing one are pretty much zero. But while we can't find a lynx on this island, what we do run into is our best friend on the island, Inez. Since we're playing as a silent protagonist, Inez is going to be our main mouthpiece throughout this entire game. We start to do some exploring with Inez, but I stopped to do a quick trash pickup job. Really, it was just right next to the can and people were throwing it on the ground. I guess so. There's like 20 people in this community. I feel like we could crack this case if we wanted to. We make it up to some nearby ruins, but we hear a sound in the distance, and as we look down over the beach, we see that there is a dolphin stranded on the coast. We run down, and sure enough, the dolphin is definitely trapped in a net, so we're gonna need to go grab some nearby adults to get this problem fixed. We run back up to the restaurant to grab as many adults as we can, including the main chef. I'm sure people will be super happy about that one. Once everyone on the island gathers up, they manage to get the dolphin on a pool floaty and absolutely launch that dude back into the ocean. Mission achieved! With the dolphin back in the water, Inez has a great idea. How about we form the Alba and Inez Wildlife Rescue League, the AWRL? Not a great name, but we're working to protect all of the wildlife on the island. We even make the front page of the newspaper. I guess it's kind of a slow day out there. So with AWRL in existence, we return to the main island of the game, where the game will actually be taking place, and we get the title credit pop-up. And we also earn the achievement Day 1 Complete for completing the first day of our trip. Day 2 begins with us standing out in the yard of our grandparents' house, and Granddad is wondering why no birds are visiting his feeder, and then he realizes it's because there's no food in it. So I guess that's a good job for us. Before we do that though, we decide to do a little wandering around the house, folding some laundry, and completely breaking the texture on the roof. Once we've done a little walk around of the house area, we return to our grandparents and fill the bird feeder up with food when Grandma gives us a handy dandy cell phone. It's pretty bare bones, we basically just get text to it, and we can use it to identify animals that we find out in the world. That's gonna be super handy. Maybe we should try to collect them all or something. Starting with this common collared dove that we found right in the house actually. So with that, Grandma opens up the gate outside of the house and gives us a map of the island. So now we are free to go wander. We're not going to be nearly as on rails as we've been up to this point. It is a fairly small island overall, but there are about 60 animals that we can walk around and find and then snap pictures of. But we do have a couple days to get all of that done anyway. As we're walking around filling up our Pokedex, we get a text from the mayor inviting everyone in the town to come visit the nature reserve for a big announcement that everyone is going to love. First though, we've got some cool birds to take a picture of, if you know what I'm saying. So the citizens of the town gather around for the mayor's big announcement, and the thing going around seems to be that maybe he's announcing the restoration of the nature reserve, which would be pretty cool. But it turns out that it's actually kind of the opposite of that. The mayor and his business partner Paco announced that the nature reserve will actually be transformed into a giant hotel. The world's largest luxury hotel, in fact, and one that he hopes will drive a lot of tourism to the sleepy little town. Walking around talking to people, it seems like for the most part, people are actually kind of split. Obviously, the island's very small, population is very low, but they used to get tourism from people visiting for the nature. So maybe this would help? But of course, we just formed the Wildlife Rescue League, so there's no way we're just gonna stand by and let all of this wildlife get wiped out by that massive hotel. We head on over to the nature reserve and start working on picking up some trash, cleaning up the area in general, and we start to see the fruits of our labor as some birds start to return. Word of the ducks returning to the nature reserve spreads pretty quickly, and we see Clara, president of the Wildlife Association, coming out to greet us. She kinda big dogged us with that title, but we'll just put that to the side, I guess. Clara does give us the great idea to try to collect 50 signatures from people in the town to stop the building of the hotel, though. That's a great idea. We're working on bringing back nature, and through those acts, people will sign our petition. I don't know that even 50 people live on this island, but I guess we'll get them from somewhere. Clara gives us a heads up to head into the nearby woods and look for a rare bird that she heard had returned, but on our way there, we find a trail of some suspicious looking goo. And following that goo trail all the way to the end, we find a squirrel has been eating it and appears to be very sick. We run into town and find the vet, who we call out to come take a look at the squirrel. He confirms that it's probably what the squirrel's been eating, but he's going to need to run some tests to confirm what's really going on. He heals the squirrel up, and he gives us our own medicine kit that we can use to heal other injured animals nearby. Good job for us, a 13-year-old. Alba's kind of fearless though, so we wander out into the woods and help treat a couple of animals that we find there. With the squirrels healed, we return back to our grandparents' house to go to bed for the night. We earn the achievement Day 2 complete here, and things are honestly looking pretty good progress-wise. We don't need to get every single thing done in one day. Day 3 starts with us back out in the town, taking pictures of new animals and talking to different people. Some signatures don't actually come from our nature-fixing efforts, it actually comes from doing little quests for people in the town, like Marina here, who lost her dog's socks, but once we return it, we get her signature down on the page. We also return to the vet in the town square, who informs us his tests that he ran on the squirrel sickness goo confirmed that it's actually a pesticide the squirrel's been ingesting. He advises us to go take a look at the nearby orange farm to figure this out. Kinda sounds like an accusation, honestly. We make a quick pit stop at the nature reserve and find that the mayor and Paco have already begun their demolition of the nature reserve to start laying the groundwork for the hotel. That is a pretty quick turnaround considering it was just announced yesterday. We gotta get a move on. So with that being said, I guess we've gotta start moving. We heal some more birds up and we knock down a fence to get into that orange farm the vet mentioned. Inside the fence, we find that a cat has actually been ingesting some of the pesticide as well, so we go ahead and fix the cat up. The farmer Eloy is pretty upset to see that his cat got sick, but he's pretty happy to see that we've fixed her right back up. Turns out that the tank he's been using to spray his oranges with pesticide actually had a big leak in it, so now that he knows, we can actually shut that down. Another win for A-Whirl. Speaking of cats though, after that we get this interesting little scene where we see a figure creeping up on us in the distance, but when we look, it's gone. We do a little bit more wandering around the island, pulling our phone out, snapping pics of new animals. before we eventually return to the town and meet the town's carpenter, Maria. We need to fix up the bridge in the nature reserve, and Maria gives us a pretty cool tip for how to solve a problem just like her as she gives us her toolbox. She's too busy with the town festival coming up to help, but now we can go ahead and do some construction on our own. And naturally, the first stop for 2 children with a toolbox and no experience using tools is to go hang out over the marsh and build a bridge. I guess we succeeded though, so it's fine. This opens up the other side of the nature reserve for us to fix up, and at least the projects over here are on solid ground and we're not risking like drowning or something, you know? This also opens us up to some new cool action shots on the other side of the nature reserve, including this bird that is flying in a circle very quickly that was a little bit hard to capture. The nature reserve is actually looking pretty good now, so with that knocked out all in one day, we return back home and earn the achievement Day 3 complete. Day 4 starts with an invite from Granddad to head up the nearby hill and check out the castle that's in the process of being rebuilt. Our first stop though is actually right on the outside as we see a signpost that hasn't been put up, so we gotta use our new toolkit on that. Stepping inside the castle, we find that one of the archaeologists working in here failed to bring the correct tools to put together the table that they're going to be performing work on. So naturally, we'll just go ahead and throw that all together, just a couple seconds, no big deal. And if that wasn't wild enough, that guy is kind of just standing over there not really doing anything, but let's go ahead and let the kid work on pulling out all of these artifacts from the rubble. That's a super great idea, I think. My favorite one though has gotta be this one where we're actually doing construction on the castle. They're letting me build staircases and stuff. Do you know how many people are gonna walk up this thing? That is horrible. Anyway, that boost up that we get from the staircase we built allows us to get up to the top of the castle and take a picture of the Spanish imperial eagle who is roosting nearby. That actually is pretty cool. We finish up all of the construction projects around the castle in, just like a couple hours, I guess, and we once again return to the front page of the newspaper. Just us and Granddad, though. Forget about those archaeologists. With our castle annex out of the way, we return to the site of the hotel and see that once again more progress has been made. We return to do some more work in the nature reserve, pretty much finishing it up, and as we do this, we unlock several different newspapers that pop up on our screen. This is kind of a cool thing that the game does. Every time you do something that's pretty big, you get another newspaper, but how many newspapers is this town producing in a day? This is 3 in like a 5-minute span. It's a little ridiculous, honestly. Ignoring the apparently booming newspaper industry, we head on out to the farm area where we meet Farmer Eloy once again, who informs us that his chickens were attacked recently by some sort of creature. Inez suspects that this might be the lynx we've been looking for, so maybe we can try to figure out where the chickens went. Luckily for us, the culprit just so happened to leave a trail of feathers going off in one direction. We eventually come to a very clear looking den, so we decide to have a little stakeout. Not with actual steak though, of course, it just had chicken, whatever it is. What we see emerge from the den though isn't actually a lynx, it is a red fox, which is a pretty cool find all on its own though. But as Inez runs off, we get another one of these weird outside body shots, but this time we actually see that the lynx has been following Alba, but it runs away before she sees it once again. After that, we return to our grandparents' house once again to earn the achievement Day 4 complete. Day 5 is actually the day before the festival, and we're looking pretty good on progress. We have 41 signatures and 55 animals photographed. That's pretty good. A little birdie told me that the dolphin has actually returned to that beach where we rescued it on the first day, so of course we go ahead and head on over to snap a quick picture of that. That once again goes on the front page of the newspaper, and we get 5 whole signatures on our petition for that photo of a dolphin. Kinda weird. Like I mentioned, we only have a couple animals left on our list, so it's time to start looking through the nature guide for the first time, which happens to have a handy dandy guide on where the remaining animals are located, for the most part. There are a couple that we're not going to get until a little bit later on in the story, wink wink. We return back to the construction site one more time and find that an owl has actually become trapped under a section of the building. And when I say building, I actually do mean building. Look at all this progress they've got done in like a day since we've been here last. That is kinda crazy, actually. We should maybe be impressed. They're kinda skilled. After that, our quest to snap all of the animal pictures continues, and I would say the hardest one to find is probably this Eleonora's falcon. It's outside of one of the windows near the castle, and it's technically a beach animal, but I don't know that I'd call this a beach. Once we've got all of the animals that we can possibly scan at the moment scanned into our phone, we return to Clara, who gives us a special prize as the president of the Wildlife Association. No need to big dog us. She gives us a pretty cool pin that we can put on our hat, and we also get on the front page of the newspaper, though we're no stranger to that. After that, we head on out to the beach where people have been calling us to come check out, and it turns out someone has dumped an absolute load of trash over here that we're all working to clean up together. This is actually a pretty fun little scene as we walk around picking up trash and healing the animals that have become stuck in it. More and more people from the town come down to help out. It's honestly pretty nice considering that this whole game has been about like community building and things like that. Once we have the beach all cleaned up, we get another snapshot in the newspaper, and I can't help but feel like maybe there would be less trash around if we weren't producing so many of these things. But at the same time, we also get the feeling that we're being watched as we see the lynx watching Alba from up on a cliff, and finally Alba sees it as well. Unfortunately, when Alba goes to snap a picture of the lynx, it has disappeared. At least she knows that it's there now, though, I guess. It's actually pretty lucky that we gathered everybody up on the beach when we were working on collecting all of that trash, because now we can march into town hall and confront the mayor with everyone all at once. We inform him that we got 50 signatures to stop the hotel, but he doesn't really want to obey that, and he kinda walks away from us. We earn the achievement Day 5 complete for collecting all of the signatures that we need, but we don't make much progress with the mayor. I guess we're gonna have to try again somehow? The mayor starts to walk around talking to various people around the town, and Inez has the great idea that maybe we should go ahead and tail him and take photos of all the different people that he's speaking to. Who doesn't love a good tailing mission? I mean, look at this gameplay. It is so crisp. We are really competing for Game of the Year with this one. Eventually, we find that the mayor has headed up near the church where he is talking to his business partner, Paco. Paco appears to hand him some sort of briefcase, so now we need to try to figure out what is actually in that briefcase. And wouldn't you know it, we sneak around and snag a photo of the mayor counting a briefcase full of money. Classic scheme. Unfortunately, while taking that photo, they manage to catch us, and Paco asks us if we really think we can make a difference. Of course, we go ahead and nod, but Paco seems to have a different opinion as he lights our petition full of signatures on fire. Maybe we should have brought some actual adults with us to handle this. At this point, Paco reveals his grand plan. The hotel is just a start, and soon enough he plans on owning this entire island. And it's at this point that the mayor finally decides to stand up to him. I guess he's been turning a blind eye to it the whole rest of this time because he's been making money off of it, but now that Paco wants to force him out in the end, he decides to stand up for himself. The mayor tells Paco that it's over and the hotel won't be built, and Paco tells him not to worry, the hotel will be taken down. Definitely not menacing. We return down to Town Square, where the mayor is being arrested by the one police officer on the island. I don't really know how this is going to go down, because as far as I could tell, there wasn't really a police station, and also he says Paco is hiding out, but there isn't really a way off this island that I've seen. So I don't really know how hard it would be to find him, but I guess plot devices, you know. With the mayor taken out of power, everyone decides that it's time to head to bed for the night to prepare for the festival tomorrow. We earn the achievement Follow the Mayor for following the mayor, and we go to sleep as we see the next day is called Careful What You Wish For. We awake to Granddad yelling at us to wake up as a fire has been started down in the nature reserve, near where the hotel was going to be, so I guess we know what Paco meant by that now. Granddad tells us that all the kids are being evacuated out to the island while the fire's being fought, so he's going to take us down there. We get an honestly pretty sick scene where Grandpa is absolutely motoring down to the pier on his little scooter through all of the fire. It's actually pretty cool. Granddad is getting a ticket for Alba to take the ferry out to the island, something that seems not super important at this point, but Alba hears an animal crying out, so of course she's gotta go to the rescue. Granddad turns around and sees that Alba is missing, so now we get an interesting little bit of gameplay where we are playing as Granddad wandering through the town trying to find Alba. I gotta ask, why didn't you take the bike back, brother? We end up back near our house and find that Alba has abandoned her backpack with her map and her wildlife guide. In the distance, we can also see that her hat has been left behind as well. Granddad continues to follow the trail, finding Alba's phone finally, which is pretty concerning because we're at a sheer cliff face that wasn't climbable before, but as we look up, we see Alba, who speaks her first line of dialogue of the game, informing Granddad that the lynx isn't the king of the forest, it's actually the queen, as we found her 2 babies. Alba hops back down the cliff face and picks her phone up to snag a very majestic picture of the lynx with her 2 babies. This actually completes our list of animals available for photograph on the island, and we once again end up on the front page of the paper for rescuing the lynx from the fire. I guess we did that. We just kind of moved the lynx slightly further inland, but I guess they managed to get the fire contained before it ended up where the lynx was hanging out anyway. We also earn the achievement Find Alba Complete for finding Alba during the fire. With the fire put out and the mayor outed, the hotel not being built, pretty much every storyline wrapped up, it's time for us to go to the festival at the end of our trip. And to kick things off, we get a pretty sweet scene ending things with Inez. The festival itself is pretty cool. There's music, there's food, and there are all of the NPCs scattered around the area that we can walk around and talk to. We also get a hint that maybe Marina will be running for the next mayor of the island, which would be pretty neat. She spends most of her time just chilling anyway, so may as well work on something. The game ends in a pretty cool way as well. We go and hang out with our grandparents and do a pretty sick dance with Granddad out in front of everybody in the town as the camera slowly begins to pan up. Once it reaches sky level, we see that there are an absolute ton of fireworks going off in the distance. One, none of the people at the party are looking at these. And also, we just had all of that trouble with fire. Why are you doing this to me? The credits roll and we earn the achievement Save the Island for saving the island, and we can officially say that we have done everything in Alba, a wildlife adventure. But how did we do? Alba took us 3.3 hours on Steam to complete. That's pretty good, honestly, compared to what I'm seeing online and what I'm seeing people on my friends list doing. We finished just a little bit quicker than the average, I would say. And honestly, I would say that it's probably hard to finish much quicker than that if you're actually going around and taking all the photographs of animals. Apparently you don't actually have to do that for the 100%, but we wanted to clear our full list of tasks. I think this game was pretty good for what it was. There were a couple little buggy moments, though most of the time it wasn't like gameplay bugs, it was just like visual stuff or animals in the environment behaving kind of weirdly. I really like the story of Alba coming back after 10 years and being the small spark to ignite the fire of all of the adults getting involved and fighting back against the hotel, whether or not they were a little bit skeptical at first or not. And as always, please feel free to let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of the game, if you have any thoughts, things that I didn't cover that you would have wished that I would have, or if you have any other games that you'd like to see me cover on the channel as well. I always read all the comments, and I really appreciate them. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one as well. See you!